Hi, I'm Cody Briscoe, and there's no way to prove that I do not have extrasensory abilities, and I have not had my Lexapro in 5 days. So, today is the beginning of a kind of a video project series that I've been working on for the past couple days. I'm going to be doing the Onision Book Club. What that basically entails is each video I'm going to go chapter by chapter of Onision's books. I'm starting out with his most recent book, Reaper's Creek, although he is writing a new book. And to celebrate the start of this new series, I'm going to be making some delicious onion soup. I found a pretty simple recipe online. Never made it before, but I figured it's worth a shot if it helps get this video past 10 minutes. So I'm just going to get this soup here started, then I'm going to, while it's cooking, I'm going to kind of go into detail about what I plan to do with this video in particular and leading into the other videos. I've got some French bread and the cheese for later. I couldn't find any baguettes at the store. I've got some butter sizzling, some seasoning for the onions, which I'm going to put in the thing now. And for some broth, I just have some warm water right there. So it's a quart, it's 4 cups. This is about 2.5 onions. And I'm just gonna put some beef bouillon in there to get a broth going. And season the onions a little bit. The recipe I'm following didn't specify what exact seasonings to use, so I'm just using the ones that I am most fond of, which is just seasonal with black pepper and cayenne pepper. This is kind of a crapshoot because I've never made this before, but hope it goes out well. So let's get to this shit. So my plans for this series is to do one video per chapter because there are a lot of great reviews out there of Onision's writings. Crimson Rogue and Strange Aeons have very good video series covering his writing, but they're a bit more broad instead of going chapter by chapter. There's a bird flying overhead. So I kind of want to analyze each chapter a bit deeply, which lucky for me because each chapter is like, what, 5 pages each. And I want to discuss how the things in these chapters can possibly give insight into the whole situation that Onision has found himself in now. I'm going to be highlighting certain segments or leaving tabs for any typos or any other embarrassing things I find, which, from what I've read, there are a lot. I have had this book spoiled for me almost entirely, mostly from other people's book reviews, but there is a lot that I still don't know in terms of like the actual text. I just know like the plot progression. So yeah, I might do some fun things like quizzes or like have you guys like write predictions for where we think the story's gonna go. If you plan to read along with me, I would encourage to buy a used copy of the book so Greg doesn't get any of your money, which is what I did. And if anybody has any copies of Greg's other 2 books they want to send my way, I would really appreciate it. It would help this series along because I just don't want to buy his shitty writing. I don't mind buying used copies, but I just don't want to benefit him financially. So yeah, so I have the soup is simmering in the kitchen right now. I'm just waiting for the room to clear out so I can start reading this book for you guys. I'm gonna this isn't necessarily an audiobook because I am gonna be adding my own commentary and as I read it. So hopefully that's transformative enough to escape Onision's fucking false copyright strikes. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. This isn't really a commentary per se. I do still have commentaries in the works. My first one, once I am settled into my new place, will be on Amber Lynn Reid. So I had to do a lot of research on her, and I do not think highly of Amber Lynn Reid. But yeah, I'm gonna finish my cigarette. So before we get into the book proper, I just kind of want to, pay homage to how terrible the cover is. So as bad as this cover is, this is probably the best cover out of the 3 of Onision's books, which is
a complete disgrace. So the title is up here, Reaper's Creek, on the back end of like a sticky label or something. We have a pretentious photo of Greg as a child that's torn up with like Sharpie writing on it. There's a note that the author's name is scribbled on top of. The note itself says a bunch of pretentious shit about God and existentialism and stuff. Um, a simple question. It's pretty reasonable for me to ask. Where is your eye supposed to be drawn to looking at this cover? Because like it's just a fucking mess. I would like to compare this cover to two other covers of books I have just ready on hand. This book is titled "Growing Around Party Panic" by a fellow YouTuber, cartoon reviewer by the name of Mr. Inter. This book is a fucking trash and awful and terrible and embarrassing, etc. Um, as bad as this cover is, mostly because of like issues with the printing and stuff, like you can barely read that because of the JPEG artifacts. Also, this is a lie, illustrated by Megan Maloney. This book has no illustrations in it. Um, at least your eye, there's a focal point. Your eye knows where to go. This book I would love to cover in another book club series at some point. Um, so yeah, so we can compare this to this. I think it's safe to say this is better. We could also look at this cover. Um, this book is not a piece of shit, and it also has a good cover, which Greg could learn from that because I know he is writing a fourth book that's like some terrible uh, Chuck Palahniuk-esque erotica. Can't wait to fucking read that. Okay, so let's get into this. I have some tabs here that I might need to use. I have my highlighters. How did those get in there? I just poured the broth in, so now I just need to let it reach a boil again, and then I will let it simmer for about 20 minutes, then it should be done. Okay, no more bullshitting around, let's begin this shit. So, the book, because it's a self-published book, does not have any, like, company information. So, the book does, however, begin with a foreword from the author, and it reads, "Before you read this book, I want you to understand something. All of my books, Stones to Abigail, This Is Why I Hate You, and now Reaper's Creek, they are not creations of pure fiction. These are stories from my own life mixed in with my imagination." So what I have to say to that is two things. One, Greg has completely fucked himself because the content that's in this book is reprehensible. And Greg's only excuse could be, oh, it's just fiction, etc. But by saying, oh no, some of this stuff really happened, it kind of raised an eyebrow at that. Also, I think every single author on Earth bases their writing on some experiences or people they've met in person, so like, Greg, you're not special here. Many of the things told in these stories reflect on who I really was, what really happened, and what was going on in my mind. Stones to Abigail represented the better version of myself. Many of the events in that book happened in real life as well. This Is Why I Hate You represented the darker version of myself. Various aspects of that book were derived from my actual life too. But this one is simply myself, who I was both good and bad during the time the story takes place. The time the story takes place is when the main character is 11 years old, and you need to keep that in mind because it will be important later. As you read, I'll leave it up to you to decide what events really happened and what is a product of creativity. There is not enough ink in my pen to draw enough quotes around the words creativity. So, Chapter 1, Welcome to the Creek. I was home, finally. My father had taken me so many places when I was in Ohio. He bought me so many things, but maybe that was just to make up for the missing child support payments. Everyone seems so worried about what their ex would do with their money as if they are a completely different person than who they originally fell in love with. What made you trust him from the start? Also, why did your trust suddenly go away just because my mom left you? I've been an 11-year-old going through a divorce, and I can tell you one thing. These kind of thoughts did not go through my fucking mind. I don't think they've gone through the mind of any 11-year-old. I don't think Greg was an 11-year-old. I think he was just born a fully grown man-child. I couldn't hear much of anything over the furnace blasting in my ears. The tiny window at the base of my bed my stepdad built allowed a subtle glow of light to peer in. I crawled outside over to the window to see my sister Joanna playing outside with our geese. She was happy to be home as well. Summer this year was strange. There was a girl there. When I looked at her, it felt like she was staring right through me. So, already two staples of Greg's writing. We have daddy issues and we have a girl that he wants to put his genitals in the vicinity of.
Love reading about an 11-year-old sex thoughts. You're not Stephen King, despite how much you may think you're on par with his writing. She had curly brown hair. Her parents were both from Latin America. She was so cute. She was my favorite part of church every Saturday, and the entire state of Ohio itself. At this point, she is my main reason to return next summer, as I have no idea what to do with my father. Joanna just says ditto whenever she talks to my dad on the phone after he says he loves her. I wonder if he has caught on to the fact that she says that because of the things my mom told her about her biological father, things I think might be true. So, Greg has consistently throughout his career claimed that his father is a child, predator. And there has not been any, things to support this, and he's never provided any supporting evidence. I believe some people did look up his father's legal records, and there's nothing of that sort. But his mother, Greg's real mother, Tammy, she is a massage therapist and would regularly massage Greg in the nude as a child. And his father is the one who is a creep with kids. Got it. I climbed down my bed, hanging by chains over my water heater, washer, and dryer. That's right, I live in an 8x6 box. It sits by the kitchen in my 900 square foot home. However, all things considered, to me, it's paradise here. When I'm at my dad's house, I feel like I'm in some kind of cookie-cutter Christian bubble cult. I think it might meant to say Bible cult, I don't know. Everyone is smiles, everyone is doing something, going somewhere. It's more than they can say about you. Yet I wonder how they can ignore how corrupt they are. I see past them showing off their pearly ivory teeth every time they see me. They are hiding from themselves. They are still breaking many of the fragile people they come across and smiling just the same. So in the Stephen King book, Finders Keepers, which was adapted as the third season of Mr. Mercedes, one of the central plot points revolves around an author who wrote books that are very much supposed to be like parodies of Catcher in the Rye and other pretentious first-person perspective novels. This is the exact kind of writing that Stephen King was taking a jab at in Finders Keepers. And as pretentious as I thought The Runner was in that book, this takes the fucking cake. Walking outside, my stepdad is working on making another bed with his bare hands, just like the bed he made me, the bed that somehow allowed me to exist with my own space in such an unlikely place. Where would I be going to bed without the contraption he made me? In the bathroom? Maybe we just hang a blanket from the ceiling in our little wooden front room. That was maybe the worst sentence so far. Hi, Papa, I said as my stepdad chipped away. Chipped away at what? He's fucking making a bed with woodworking. Is he chiseling the wood? He looked up with his goofy mustache bending to his smile. Hey there, Greg. I'm making this bed for your cousin Rod. I smiled and replied, oh, cool, and thought about what he was getting out of it. My stepdad had so much time on his hands. Maybe he was putting food on the table, or maybe he was just trying to be everyone's friend. The problem with friends is that they aren't bound to you by blood. There is no promise they will never go away. Sometimes I feel like my real friends are the woods that surround my house, the creek that runs by it. They don't leave me. They don't lie to me. They tell me who they are, and they never change. I think what you're feeling is that you don't like it when your friends challenge you, so you'd rather just be alone with like a 150-year-old maple. Hey, dork, belted my sister, who was no longer playing with the geese. Oh, hi, Joanna. Oh, hi, Mark. What are you doing? I said with a smirk. She replied, none of your business, loser. Then why did she call to him? Okay. That was typical, Joanna being irrational. Why did she say hi to me if she did not want to talk? See, even he knows it's bad writing. Oh, right, to call me a dork and move on. I wanted to go up the trail to the swing alone, but I felt a familiar wet dew on my feet. Of course, I wasn't wearing any socks or shoes yet. Hey, Daniel, want to help me out over here? My stepdad was trying to insert a section of the bed into a supporting pole, but the teeth of the headboard kept wobbling around, making it a two-man job. This bed that he's describing, which, by the way, is completely fucking illogical. It's like a wooden bed hanging from chains. This sounds like a thing that should probably be built, on the site. Why are there support poles and shit? These are things that would need to be present, at this kid's house. My stepdad was a tall man, maybe 6'1". He had a haircut like he was in the Beatles band, but the caterpillar above his lip threw the look off. I always admired how healthy he looked, because almost everyone else his age looked like they were well on their way to getting diabetes. Again, these are supposedly the thoughts of an 11-year-old boy. "What are you waiting for, kid?" my stepdad asked. I replied, "Sorry, Papa. I got to go grab shoes, 1 second." He replied with a dad-like, frustrated, but friendly voice, "Alrighty then." So, when you're starting a story, it's good to, like, set the tone and, like, kind of... Not, you don't have to always start in media res, but to, like, at least kind of start your story out with things kind of already happening and, like, gradually, get the reader, into, caught up. This is just... We're just starting off on some kid's boring fucking day as he's whining about everything. Slipping on some shoes inside, I ran back outside. Slipping on some shoes inside, I ran back out and pushed the teeth of the headboard in the associated slots so we could firmly put the side of the headboard into the supporting beam. Riveting. My stepdad said, "Thanks, buddy. I'll let you know if I need more help. The baseboards would be no problem, as it's shorter, though." I laughed and hugged him. "I'm going up the hill, Papa," I said. He replied, "Okay, kid." I have a feeling that this entire book is going to be, he said, I replied, ad nauseum. Running up the hill, I got hit by countless stickers. Those are plants that basically get stuck to your clothes by hooking them with their sharp prongs or by otherwise having a natural adhesive on them. We know what stickers are. I didn't really worry about the stickers at this point, however. Then why are you writing about it? It was the nettles I was afraid of. Those push little needles in your skin and cause significant pain. Oddly enough, if you boil them, apparently, they make a decent soup. But no mistake, they are basically the jellyfish of plants. That was like 2 or 3 sentences, and it was just like comma splices. Getting past all the stickers, I was finally to the tree, the massive, beautiful tree with a rope hanging down, just at the right length so you could swing on it without smacking your body into any nearby trees. Climbing up to the black and yellow twisted rope, I grabbed on and began to swing around. "Woohoo!" I screamed almost every time. I was so happy to finally be at the place I belonged. It didn't matter I was wearing my pajamas still. It didn't matter that I was wearing a TV shirt supporting a non-Christian TV show. I wasn't at my biological dad's anymore. I was alone, in the woods. I was free. Can you imagine? This is like if Bridge to Terabithia was written... I don't have a joke here, sorry. Suddenly, I saw the face of my bully show up in front of my eyes. It was Philip, and immediately after, everything went black. I felt a small amount of blood dripping down my stomach. I'm going to write a note here because one thing I remember from other reviews is how often the main unconsciousness is used, so I'm going to do a little tick and do like a little like ZZZ sleeping thing to signify that. I felt a small amount of blood dripping down my stomach. My eyes were closed. Without opening my eyes, I rolled backwards onto my back. I opened my eyes and saw only the trees above. I was still outside in the woods alone. So he suddenly saw the face of his bully in front of his eyes and is unconscious. So I don't know if he had a hallucination, if his tab kicked in, or like if he was jumped. I don't know if the book is going to explain this to us. The birds were chirping, the sun rays were peeking through the leaves and pine. The air was so beautiful smelling, and I could hear little insects crawling around me, minding their own business. Everything was right where it should be, except for me. What happened? Looking down, I could see the white t-shirt I was wearing now had a hole in it and a blood spot. I had fallen off the rope swing after I fainted. Why did I see Philip's face? Walking down the hill and into the yard, Joanna said, with her basic brown teenager haircut and her clothes that were too tight for her plump body type. You're thinking that about your sister? Okay. "Oh my God, dork, are you gonna die or something?" I replied. "Yes, Joanna, I'm going to die. Don't come to my funeral. You would somehow make it suck even more." Joanna yelled back a fake laugh as I walked into the house. She had nothing else to say. I'm gonna go check on the soup really quick, because this is boring the fuck out of me.
Alright, we have reached an adequate boil, so I'm gonna stir it around one more time. Oh, fuck me up the ass. So I'm gonna let that boil for a few minutes, lower the temperature, and just let it simmer.
Stepping across the wood floor my mom painted white as a result of our pets peeing on our former carpet till it was unbearable to have around. I walked into the bathroom, now compressing my wound. I took off my shirt and threw it in the tiny trash bin. Looking into the bathroom mirror, I gazed at my own face. Same Daniel as always. Sharp jawline, acne on my face, bushy eyebrows, and abnormally tall for an 11-year-old. My brown hair was so boring, I thought about dyeing it all the time, but my mom said I was too young. Looking down, I could see my wound. What does it look like? It was surprisingly incredibly superficial. Maybe the sharp stick I had fallen on when I blacked out had hit a rib. I imagined if I was hit somewhere else, it would have at least dug deeper. But it didn't, so why are we reading this? Time for my favorite part, pouring hydrogen peroxide on my wound and watching the science project explode in front of me. That's a decent line, I guess. I felt like I had had enough outdoors for that day. It was time to retire to my bedroom and play video games the rest of the day. My game of choice? Metal Gear Solid. A game that had been unwittingly programming my worldview, causing me to prematurely judge and reflect on aspects of our world I would have not considered till I was at least an adult without it. Mom gets home at 5 o'clock. And that's how the chapter fucking ends. So, this has done an incredibly poor job setting the tone. I still don't know what kind of story it is. I don't really know anything about any of the characters besides Daniel, and I know that I don't like him so far. The prose itself is awful. The sentence structure is awful so far. Everything reads like he's describing what happens in his story and not actually writing the story. A reason why I want to do this series so much is because there are plenty of drama channels out there that are discussing Onision, and they're doing a way better job than I could, covering all the details of his allegations and his downward spiral. And Onision is a topic that I do want to speak about, but I also don't feel like I'm qualified enough to do the jobs that people like Mr. Repsion are doing. But I do feel confident in my ability to analyze media, and I feel like if I use the media analysis lens by looking at this book, I can also speak on a lot of other tangential topics related to Onision.
I just wanted to ask you guys real quick, for those who aren't spoiled on how this book is going to progress, just based on that chapter alone, where do you think the story is going to go? Because I promise you, where you think it's going is not where it's actually going. So yeah, leave comments on that, leave your thoughts on this video series as well, and yeah. I'm bad at doing calls to action. Actually did pretty good. Well, thank you again for watching, and thank you for the lunch, Onision. It's probably the only thing on earth anybody could fucking thank you for. So, yeah, I hope you rot in hell.